The racing gods tried everything they could to rip this win away from Tyler Reddick. Honestly, the guy deserves credit for like 3 or 4 different wins tonight, the amount of times he had to hold off the field. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I just got back from Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas. I'm back home, and I'm exhausted. I had a great time though. Growing up, my dad and I often went to the April and November Texas Motor Speedway weekends. Now that Circuit of the Americas basically has that spring Texas Motor Speedway date, we've continued to go to COTA now the past couple of seasons. This time we took my mom, we took my girlfriend, so it was kind of a whole family affair. It was a great time. I had a fun time watching this race. Very pleasant, very enjoyable, for the most part. We'll get to some of the late race silliness. I don't know what better word to use. Shenanigans. I don't like using the word chaos. I think broadcasters, commentators, drivers, everyone uses the word chaos a little too frequently when describing races, so I'm going to try to avoid that word. But whatever the case may be, the debauchery that took place towards the end of this race, we will get to that. I didn't always enjoy that. But first and foremost, I want to start with Tyler Reddick, because I did enjoy Tyler Reddick today. I greatly enjoyed and appreciated his performance. Last year, Tyler Reddick was very impressive on the road courses. He won the Indy road course, he won Road America, hardly put a wheel wrong in either of those 2 races, while, especially at Indy, the rest of the field made fools of themselves behind him. 2 road course wins last year, driving for Chevy, driving for Richard Childress Racing, very impressive. Coming into this weekend, the first road course of 2023, it's not that I didn't trust Tyler Reddick. We all know he can drive, he's a good road racer. I didn't really trust Toyota. Toyota last year kind of struggled on the road courses, at least by their standards. So while Reddick clearly demonstrated that he's a tremendous road racer last season, moving over to Toyota this year, new team, new manufacturer, didn't have the best road course success last year. I didn't pick Tyler Reddick, not because I didn't trust him, but because I didn't trust Toyota. And then I tweeted Saturday, I believe after Reddick qualified second, that I was going to regret not picking him. It was pretty clear during practice, during qualifying, that Tyler Reddick was the driver to beat. He made that very clear early on today, but congratulations to Tyler Reddick. First win of the season, first win for 23XI Racing. This is also the first win for Toyota this year, the first points-paying win, so they're officially on the board. I don't know when this happened. I don't know if it has something to do with the next-gen car just suiting his driving style better, but I think we can safely say now that Tyler Reddick is a top 3, arguably top 2. I'll say top 3 for now. He's a top 3 road course racer in the NASCAR Cup Series currently. I don't think that's arguable. I think you still have to put Chase Elliott in that group, just considering all the success he's had the past few seasons. And he didn't race today, so I don't want to dock him points for just not being in the field. Who knows? If Chase Elliott races today, he might have been one of Reddick's top challengers. We don't know. So I got to keep Chase Elliott in that window. I think AJ Allmendinger, he's not in the best car, not in the best equipment, yet at every road course he's up in the top 5, top 10, in contention more times than not. I think you still got to slot AJ in there maybe. Byron's good, Larson's good, Chastain's good, Austin Cindric's good. There are a ton of others right there on the cusp of breaking into that top 3, but I think Tyler Reddick is there. Last year you could argue it was Chevy, it was RCR, it was Randall Burnett giving him a magical setup, but today Tyler Reddick proved that he is the most valuable piece of this equation. Just like last year, most of his Toyota teammates kind of struggled. Like Christopher Bell, I think, was inside the top 10 for a good amount of the day. Truex snuck up into the top 10 late before I think he was caught up in some crazy restart wreck. But Denny Hamlin was never a factor. I know he got penalized for cutting the corner. Ty Gibbs was never really a factor. I think he too got a corner cutting penalty. And Bubba Wallace had like an oil line break or something and wrecked early, so he was never a factor. Tyler Reddick was the only Toyota to truly sniff the lead today. He had a great car, don't get me wrong. That 45, that Toyota was hooked up. But the driver is what took that thing to victory lane today. Congratulations to Tyler Reddick. Had to withstand restart after restart after restart. I was waiting for him to get turned, get spun, get dumped, you name it. There was even that one restart where he did make a small mistake. He overdrove it, missed the bottom, and I think third place was able to sneak by and get the lead. But 2 laps later, Reddick got the lead back, so no harm, no foul. Great race for Tyler Reddick. Happy to see him get his first win. This is why Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, this is why they brought him in. He's going to elevate that program right here in the short term and in the long term, because Tyler Reddick is still very, very young and I think is still improving. Scary times for the rest of the field. Great win for Tyler Reddick. Congrats to him. I want to talk about the ringers for a moment because that was a huge storyline coming into this race. You got former F1 champions like Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen in the field. Jordan Taylor filling in for Chase Elliott. He's an IMSA champion. I was honestly surprised by how non-competitive many of those drivers and cars were today. I'll just be honest. I didn't expect Jenson Button or Kimi Räikkönen, Button making his first NASCAR start, Räikkönen only his second Cup Series start. I didn't expect them to run top 10 today, but I figured they'd run top 20, and they never really did. Jordan Taylor, I figured would run about 8th to 12th. He qualified 4th on Saturday, and I was thinking he could be a contender to win, and he basically went backwards the moment the green flag dropped. Look, maybe it is my fault. I put some unrealistic expectations on these drivers. Jordan Taylor never raced in a NASCAR Cup Series event. Jenson Button never raced in a NASCAR Cup Series event. Kimi Räikkönen, this is only his second start. Like, sure, for those guys to come out and run top 10, top 20 in just their first or second start, that is unrealistic. I get that. But I think the bigger takeaway here isn't how those drivers did. It's how much better NASCAR Cup Series regulars are today at road course racing than they've ever been in NASCAR's history. 10 years ago, there were 2 road courses on the Cup Series schedule, and they were both kind of buried middle of the summer, not the most important races. Drivers knew they could kind of just survive Watkins Glen, survive Sonoma, come home 15th, who cares, we'll get them next week at an oval. That's not the case anymore. Now, road course racing is a very important skill. It's something that drivers focus on, teams emphasize. There are 5 road courses in the regular season. There's 1 in the playoffs. You gotta be good at the road courses. You can't just sit these races out and be content with 25th. There are too many points on the line, and you look around at especially many of the younger Cup Series drivers who've grown up in this road course heavy era of NASCAR. And I'm talking about the Tyler Reddicks, the Chase Elliott's, the William Byrons, the Kyle Larsons, even Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe. I am genuinely impressed by how good they seem to be at these road courses. Some of the veterans, like Eric Almirola, for example, good Lord. Was there something wrong with his car? He was running 30th all day. What happened? Brad Keselowski, how many incidents was he involved in today? My goodness. I'm not saying all these drivers are bad road course racers. Maybe they just had an off race. But look at who's been winning most of the road courses in recent years. It's the younger guys. It's Chase Elliott. It's Tyler Reddick. Last year, Ross Chastain won at COTA. He battled a young driver in Alex Bowman, and I guess AJ Allmendinger's a veteran, but road racing is his background. That's his specialty. It's always been that way. Daniel Suarez won a road course last year. Kyle Larson won it's all young guys. So I'm genuinely very impressed by how the younger drivers especially have adopted road course racing and improved at road courses. It's not easy anymore for a road course ringer, even someone like a Jordan Taylor who's raced sports cars, a tremendous race car driver, no doubt. It's not easy for him to just show up behind the wheel of a good car and contend, because the Tyler Reddicks of the world, the William Byrons of the world, the Daniel Suarez's of the world, the Cup Series regulars by and large are better at road course racing than they've ever been. And I do think the drivers and teams, for the most part, should be able to pat themselves on the shoulder. Look, I know I had unrealistic expectations for Jordan Taylor. It's his first NASCAR Cup start ever. He had like an hour of practice on Friday, qualifying on Saturday, but he did get 4th, so he did set the bar pretty high for himself. I understand, not a ton of experience. Experience in these cars still matters a lot. But my point is, the Cup Series regulars, particularly the young Cup Series regulars, are so much better at road course racing now. I just think the era of ringers coming in and actually contending right off the bat, I think that era is over. I don't think you'll ever see that again. I'm not trying to crap on Räikkönen and Button and Jordan Taylor. They all had their moments. In fact, Jenson Button ends up with a top 20 finish. Great for him. Happy for him. It's just something I noticed, and I wanted to give the young drivers especially a small round of applause. Now, I kind of want to segue into a different topic, which kind of goes against everything I said. There are a lot of great road course racers in the NASCAR Cup Series now, no doubt. They don't always race like it, though. Sometimes, especially late in these races, when a win potentially, or a top 5 or a top 10 finish, when that's in their grasp, within their range, within their reach, some of these drivers race with absolutely no care, no respect, no decency, no consideration for anyone else but themselves. It's dog eat dog. It's selfish racing to the extreme. It's exactly what Kyle Busch was talking about a week ago when he said there's absolutely no respect between drivers in the garage anymore. I thought that was maybe a slight exaggeration last week. After today, No, I completely agree with him. I don't think he was exaggerating at all. Drivers just piling into the cars in front of them, knowing there are no repercussions, no consequences for their actions. Everyone was angry at everyone after the race. Daniel Suarez, who unfortunately got spun on a late race restart, should have had a good top 5 or at least top 10 day going. He was pissed at his own teammate, Ross Chastain. He was yelling, he was arguing with his own teammate after the race. He was mad at Alex Bowman, and side note, he did rear end Alex Bowman going onto pit road after the race. That's probably gonna result in a fine, at the very least, probably a points penalty as well. That was dumb. Can't be doing that with officials and other people potentially standing around. Do not use your car as a weapon on pit road after the race, especially. Dumb on Daniel Suarez's part, but his frustration was justified. Everyone's frustration was justified, basically. How many overtimes today? Like 2 or 3? In the grandstands, after the first or second one, the people were actually getting angry. Fans were not happy with all the wrecking, all the spinning, all the cautions. This race almost crossed over into that embarrassing circus, wreck fest, whatever you want to call it, category. I don't know what needs to happen. Do veterans like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin just need to go out there, assert their dominance, restore order somehow, some way? I don't think the young drivers would even listen. And, if Harvick goes out there and wrecks you to get your attention, and we saw a couple years ago with Chase Elliott, he's not scared of Kevin Harvick. Nobody is. They're not scared of Kyle Busch. They're not scared of Joey Logano. They're not scared of Denny Hamlin. Shoot, Ross Chastain has shown that time and time again. There are no enforcers in the Cup Series today. Everyone's out for themselves. It results in very selfish, careless, and sloppy driving at times. We saw that late in today's race, which is just disappointing. Unbecoming of the top stock car racing series in the world. I don't know what the answer is. I don't want NASCAR to step in and start officiating contact and incidents like they're the FIA. I absolutely don't want that. But I also don't want to see these races drag on 2-3 overtimes because guys can't get their crap in order. I don't know what needs to change going forward. We saw this at the Indy road course last year. It was really bad there. Almost crossed over into that same kind of territory today. I don't think it was quite as bad, but it was close. Do we just get rid of overtime? I don't really want to see that. Maybe just one overtime. We just limit it to one attempt instead of unlimited attempts, which, boy, you're just asking for trouble. I don't know what the right move is, but I know the end of this race was frustrating. I really was hoping it would play out as a fuel mileage race with Byron, Reddick, Suarez, and I think Bowman, maybe Chastain were in the top 4, top 5. Everyone was pretty close, pretty tight on making it. That was shaping up to be a thrilling finish between the most deserving drivers and teams. And instead we got 3 and 4 and 5 wide restarts with fast cars getting wrecked for no reason at all. It dragged on when it didn't need to. It wasn't fun to watch as a fan in the stands, at least. I don't know about at home on TV. In the stands, we wanted the race to be over. We all thought Tyler Reddick was the deserving winner. He defended his position beautifully on just about every single restart. We were tired of drivers running over each other for 20th, dragging this race on longer than it needed to be. Anyway, share your thoughts down in the comments below. I don't know. Maybe you enjoyed all the overtimes. Kept things interesting, I guess. Overall, I enjoyed this race, and I am glad that if you look at the top 5, top 10, most of the most deserving drivers and cars still finished up near the front of the pack. Like Reddick, obviously most deserving driver and car all day. He gets the win. Alex Bowman was top 5 most of the day. Ross Chastain was top 5 most of the day. He got spun himself or something on one of the late race restarts, and he charged through the field late to still get a top 5. Typical Ross Chastain fashion. Ruffled some feathers along the way, but he's the one with the top 5 finish, not them. William Byron, really fast car, probably the second best car behind Reddick most of the day. He gets a top 5. So ultimately, while there was a lot of mayhem, there was a lot of, again, debauchery in those final restarts, most of the top finishers deserved to be there. Suarez got screwed out of a top 5. Hated to see that. I'm sure there were a couple other drivers. I think Christopher Bell got tore up late, and he looked to have a top 10 or at least top 12 run going, so that kind of sucked. But for the most part, the most deserving drivers still finished near the front. So I'm happy about that. Second top 10 in a row for Ty Gibbs. Todd Gilliland with a top 10. That's always worth a shout out whenever he's able to do something like that. He got a top 10 or maybe even a top 5 at the Indy road course last year, I think. So he's good on these late race road course restarts. I don't know. 11th for Corey LaJoie. How about that? He is serious about trying to sneak into the playoffs this year. Don't know that it's going to happen, but he's still putting on a show week after week. Happy for him. There are too many drivers to mention. I do want to offer my condolences to Jimmy Johnson fans. I can't have too much sympathy for Jimmy fans because many of y'all did get to see your guy win 7 championships, maybe 5 in a row, but especially the newer Jimmy fans who maybe became Jimmy Johnson fans in the 2010s, maybe saw his 2016 championship. That's great, but I do feel bad for Jimmy fans because the past 5 or 6 years have been brutal. I mean, winless his final 3 full Cup Series seasons, goes over to IndyCar, has a few great runs, but overall was just out of his element, just overmatched. Comes back to NASCAR this year, looked okay at Daytona until things happened beyond his control. And then today, COTA. He handpicked this event. He wanted to race at Circuit of the Americas against F1 drivers, IMSA. He wanted to compete at this track in this race, and he gets wrecked out on lap 1. I mean, that's just terrible, terrible luck. So I do feel bad for Jimmie Johnson fans, especially younger Jimmie Johnson fans who didn't get to see the 5 in a row, perhaps. It's been brutal. I feel for you guys. I'm sorry. It sucked to watch. I was unhappy that Jimmy got knocked out so early because he was one of the storylines coming in, and he never got a chance to really do anything. Speaking of which, Dillon finishes last. I believe I saw a stat. This is 5 of the first 6 races this year. He's finished outside the top 30. His teammate Corey LaJoie is in the playoffs right now. Let's not look past that. Those are your top finishers, though. Let me know in the comments if your favorite driver had anything remarkable happen that I forgot to mention. It is 1 o'clock in the morning, actually 1:15 as the time I'm recording this, so my brain's a little fried. I might have missed a detail from where I was watching in the stands. Let me know. Did I miss anything important? Closing thoughts. I didn't see the broadcast. I heard at one point they had like 5 different people in the broadcast booth, like obviously Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, but then they had Chase Elliott remotely. They had Gunther Steiner. Kurt Busch was in the booth from what I understand. Was Tony Stewart in the booth as well? I don't know how many people they had in the broadcast booth today. It sounded like too many cooks in the kitchen, but I don't know how the broadcast was. I hope it was decent. I'll have to go back this week and watch some of it, at least see the highlights. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of Fox's coverage. How were the no stage yellows? I liked them. There was the weird instance at the end of stage 1, I believe, where like the stage ended as they were coming to the restart, so like the way they lined up for the choose basically determined the top 10 finishers and who got stage points. Like, that was a little weird. Again, one of those just unintended consequences that always seems to come up when NASCAR changes a rule. But overall, I didn't mind the change. I think it allowed for more natural strategy to play out, you know, until the mess of cautions at the end. Field got strung out at times, sure, but it felt like a true road course race where the best drivers and teams who executed the best were bubbling to the front. And I don't know, I enjoyed that. I think the drivers who collected stage points were the rightful drivers to collect those stage points. Like, they earned them, and they got to collect the points that they earned, which in the past, with stage racing at road courses, that's not always the case. The guys who dominated the stage would pit and forfeit stage points, give them to some guy who was running 12th, who didn't really deserve them, just so they'd have a better shot at the win. It was silly, it was dumb. I'm glad that really didn't happen today. Would this change be good for ovals across the board? Maybe, maybe not. I think super speedways, it would be fine. Some of the other oval tracks, I don't mind stage racing the way it is. I don't mind the mandatory caution. It does not bother me at all. In some ways, I think it's good. Some of these tracks, I think it is fun, at least for the casual viewer, to see the field bunch back up once again. Guarantees the drivers and teams at least 1 or 2 opportunities to make adjustments to the race car. I don't mind them, but at road courses at least, I think this was a great experiment, a successful one, and I hope it continues at least for the rest of this year. Checking my notes, what about the course cutting penalties? I lost count, but there was probably 8, 10, 12 cutting the corner penalties handed out today. There was like 4 in the first 10 laps, something crazy like that. Were there any that were questionable? I doubt it. It feels like a pretty black and white, obvious call. NASCAR's got cameras. They've got eyes in that section of the track. It's pretty clear if you had all 4 tires, you know, below the rumble strips or wherever it was, out of bounds. So I don't know if there was ever any real debate there, but it was definitely a lot of penalties and hurt some drivers' days. I didn't see the full Bubba Wallace interview. It sounded like he was really down on himself, really hard on himself afterwards. Maybe we'll talk about that later this week. I just want to see some emotional maturity from Bubba, and I'm not convinced we're getting any of it. Last year at Las Vegas, when he lost his cool and wrecked Kyle Larson, I was kind of hoping that was rock bottom. I kind of was hoping rock bottom had already passed, like when he splashed the Gatorade on Bowman, when he admitted to wrecking on purpose. I was kind of hoping that a couple of years ago, Bubba Wallace had sort of kind of hit bottom, and now he was a little more mature, a little more calm, reserved, calculated. Las Vegas last year, and today, did he even make a mistake? I thought something broke on his car, and he couldn't really control it anymore and just went sliding into Larson into the wreck. Was he even at fault? Did he do anything wrong today? I don't think so. Maybe he did. Again, I haven't seen too many replays. It happened on the opposite end of the track. I couldn't see it live, so maybe I'm wrong, but for him to be so hard on himself, saying that, I need to be replaced, no, man. There's a difference between holding yourself accountable and being so hard on yourself that you hurt your confidence and potentially hurt your performance next week and the week after that. So I didn't like what I saw and heard from Bubba Wallace, but Maybe I don't see the full picture. I don't know. If you're a Bubba Wallace fan, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What did you think of his post-race interview? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Kind of in the middle somewhere? Let me know. Groovy gauge time. This was probably going to get an 80 to 85% before the mess of cautions at the end. I was really loving the fuel mileage race that was shaping up between the leaders. Some of the cautions just really frustrate me. Again, this is the second race I've been to this year. I went to the Clash as well, and both at the Clash and today, I was sitting in the stands with some casual viewers, people who don't usually watch racing, don't usually watch NASCAR, don't follow it that closely, and both the Clash and today's race at COTA ended with a bunch of silly cautions, poor racing, bad driving, just frustrating, very sloppy finishes, and I hate that. I hate that. The 2 times I've gotten casuals to go to a race, they've seen that. So that hurt this race for sure. I'm going to give it a 75%. Still a good race, an above average race for sure. I love this event. I hope NASCAR at COTA is here to stay long term. The crowd looked very similar, very comparable to the previous 2 seasons here. So I don't know. I hope the hype continues to grow and build and this becomes a mainstay on the NASCAR event because this is a great venue, great city, big market. NASCAR should be here and I hope this event continues to be deemed a success. The racing, overall good. I enjoyed it, 75%. Oh, I'm gonna get some sleep. Thank you so much for watching this video, y'all. Again, share all your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm looking forward to revisiting some of these big storylines later this week, but for now, I'm gonna leave it at that. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. If you're new to the channel and you love all things NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your continued support, your very generous support. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you again soon. Have a wonderful Monday. Take it easy, y'all.